back to the Intentional Intern Podcast. Happy October! We're officially into fall, and October is the perfect movie month and the best month out of the year if you were to ask me. In celebration of Movie Month, this week's episode surrounds film. This week's interviewee is Eddie Fisher. He is a senior at Georgia State University and majoring in film and media, as well as minoring in GFA, which, for those who don't know, is Georgia Film Academy. Eddie's various visions, showcased through his future short films, feature films, and TV series concepts, aim to create a shift in Black representation within the film and media he loves to create. Eventually, he would like to enter his work into various film festivals in order to share his stories and visuals with other audiences. While he works on multiple projects through his degree and his film friendships now, he also creates photography content that's on his photo Instagram page, Inferno Files. His dedication extends beyond his craft no matter what he's working on. The passion and care that he applies to his projects extends to anyone he's also working with. That motivation comes from his mindset that every situation is a new creative learning opportunity. For any employers or potential mentors wanting to connect with Eddie, his LinkedIn info is down below. As always, I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and let's get right into the podcast. Hi, Eddie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. So first, to kick off the podcast, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience so we can be a little bit more familiar with you.
Okay. My name is Eddie Fisher. I am a photographer, filmmaker, stop motion animator, all of the above in film. I try to be as versatile as possible in the film industry. I'm a senior at Georgia State University, minoring in Georgia Film Academy, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Can you give us a little bit of insight into what Georgia Film Academy is for those who may not know?
The Georgia Film Academy is basically an extended program of the film major industry at Georgia State, where you learn everything hands-on. You actually go into warehouse sets, learn how to set up lights, learn how to operate cameras, learn how to build a set. It's basically all of like the professional high-level filmmaking set of skills that you basically learn how to do.
Cool. Thanks for that. So I want to start off by asking, why did you choose to major in film and media?
I chose to major in film and media because this goes all the way back to when I was 10 years old. I've been passionate about it since I was a kid. And so it was the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie where I was obsessed with superheroes and action movies and all that. And I was reenacting the scenes in my living room and running around in circles like a little kid. And that's really what set the path for me. Storytelling, but from a visual perspective, not from reading books or graphic novels or fables and all that other stuff, but visually captivating a story at times that didn't even have words but showed, not tell, or have visual expressions is really what made me want to get into this.
Gotcha. And since your days as a little kid running around in your living room, I want to know now, how has your love for film changed? Or what does that look like now as a senior at Georgia State and throughout your curriculum here and any type of project that you've done? What does film mean to you? How has that changed?
So in the beginning, actually, I was just obsessed with just watching movies by itself. I didn't really think much about from a cultural aspect or a historical aspect. It was really just the fiction element of fantasy of, wow, this isn't real, but it looks real and I'm visibly seeing it on the screen, and that's cool to me. I want to do that. I want to create that. But over time, as I grew up a lot older, having racial encounterments happen to me, it made me realize that this is something I want to talk about and bring out into the open. And a huge inspiration for that, and that big, I guess, turning point for me, was when Chadwick Boseman produced and starred in the movie Jackie Robinson 42. Him being Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, Jamie Brown, it was a really big turning point as far as like telling Black stories and making sure that Black stories have been told from a historical perspective, and even Black Panther from a fictional perspective. So then you have the superhero kid in me who loves superheroes, but also seeing a Black superhero get their shine, have a positive enlightenment on what it means to be black and powerful, and not just the stereotypes where it's slavery, where it's segregation or a racist, movie in general.
So, with all the background that you've given on what inspired you to be in film or to love film, as well as some of the actors that have taken on specific roles or specific genres within film that have influenced you, that leads me to kind of inquire about what do you exactly want to do within film? So, how do you want to create an impact within film based on the profession that you choose? What do you want to do?
I know for a fact that what I want to do is to create something unique that stands out. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. It doesn't even have to win an Oscar, but as long as it has an impact to inspire someone else to say, hey, I want to create something of my own, or I want to think outside the blue, like something weird, something creative, something that's never been done before. That's my ultimate goal, is just to keep that originality flowing. And yes, it has been said before that there's no such thing as an original idea, because it's all of it's been done before, but it's what you take out of that originality and make it your own and make it special and unique in itself. That is what's most important that I want to be able to do.
So what role do you want to take on within film to be able to do that?
I think when everyone starts out, they all say that they want to be a director or they want to be the leading role, the actor. I think the key part that everyone should take an interest in is the writing aspect, because that's where the story has control. Without the writing, there is no story. And as you can clearly see, Hollywood is in a place right now, a pretty tough rock and a hard place right now with this writer strike that's going on. And it's because their writers need to get paid more. These writers are the reason that these stories are able to happen and become what they are. Yes, you have a director. Yes, you have producers, actors, and yes, it's a team and it's a collaborative effort. But like Nick Fury said, there was an idea that started something in the Avengers, and that's literally where all of this comes from. This is how it kickstarts an idea. Writing this idea down, jotting out ideas, plots, characters, story elements, morals, ethics, all of it. That's how you create the story and produce it, and creating it and visually like giving it out to the people to see. That's where it originally comes from.
So are you leaning more towards writing, or are you looking at writing being a key part of what you want to do in order to kind of branch off into directing or producing or all of those things? Do you have a core, or are all of those things your cores that you want to do within film?
So when I started out, I actually started out doing stop motion animation, and that requires a lot of camera work and storytelling. It's you're a one-man job basically for that. And so that's kind of like a director's position. So when I started out, when I was 10 years old, I had Ninja Turtle action figures that I was holding and placing around. And I just like did anything that my mind could think of at the time. And so for the longest time, I thought, okay, I want to be a director. I want to call the shots. I want to have this happen with this character and this go that way and this way. And as I got older, I learned that the more versatile you are in all these aspects, as directing, writing, lighting, camera operator, sound engineer, the more versatile you are, the better off you'll be into helping out each and every other department, so that you can speak their language in what you want as the creator or the leading role model for everyone. So to answer the question, I do still want to be a director in that aspect, but I do want to be a versatile director who's had experience with acting, writing, producing, screenwriting. I know those are two, they sound the same, but screenwriting and writing are two different things. But yeah.
I did not know that screenwriting and writing were two completely different things, so thank you for that. I don't want to skate over something that you mentioned that I think is pretty important to how you started out and kind of where you are now with your decisions, which was stop motion. Stop motion animation isn't something that I'm nearly as familiar with, unless we're kind of talking about Coraline, but
Yeah, definitely Coraline is like my favorite stop motion movie of all time.
What made you want to kind of start your journey in film and media through that? And how has that journey kind of gone along for you as you've continued to do stop motion animation?
So it started off with the movie Coraline. Actually, my grandmother, every time I went over her house, she would always put that on for us. And ironic enough, she was very religious. So to see how demented and creepy and witch trial like and scary that was for a kids movie, for some odd reason, she knew that was the movie to like make us sit in front of the TV and not bother anyone for hours. And we would just play it over and over and over and never got tired of that movie as a kid. And so seeing like some of these animated shows like SpongeBob or like some type of action cartoon, I can't think of one right now, but I just knew that, if it was up to me, I would have made this character go in this direction or this character fight in this type of way. And I knew that because I was visually seeing it and I had no control over it, I wanted to take that control for myself and say, what if I recreated this scene from a movie or a show, but I did it in the way that I wanted? So I took my action figures and just like placed them on the table and just moved them inch by inch just to see what would happen by taking the pictures. And I would scroll side by side to see that they were actually moving. And that's kind of like how I discovered that I could do this. And so I knew, let's see if I can remember, I built a Ninja Turtles like sewer set out of cardboard boxes. And I wanted the characters Raphael and Leonardo to fight one another. But then like Michelangelo and Donatello got involved and it became like a four-way battle. And because I feel like we've never seen like all of them fight exactly at the same time. Like we've seen them go at each other and then it's usually Raph and Leo that fights at the end of the shot or whatever. And Raph comes out on top or Leo comes out on top, whatever. That's the cliche thing. But I knew I wanted to see something different or an alternative way of that happening. And that's kind of like the pattern that I started to pick up with a lot of these shows that I grew up on, wanting to see something different if I had the control over that to do something about it.
I want to touch a little bit more on something you talked about, which was control. And speaking of control and the correlation to being a director and how you get to manage or remodify all these different projects, I want to ask now, what are some projects that you're currently working on? And what have those projects taught you along the way, if anything?
I have a few projects going on right now that I'm pretty proud of. I am currently working on a short film called Stairwell. It's about a 11-minute thriller that I created and wrote and direct, and I had a whole cast and crew, I had a wonderful time working with them. It taught me a lot, learning how to make a call sheet, learning how to set lights in a tight space, learning how to scout locations. We spent hours, and I mean hours, all the way from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. working on this film, and I'm pretty excited to release it pretty soon. It's a psychological thriller about a couple arguing, and it's learning the ins and out of addiction and how do you handle that with your partner and how your relationships with the things that you're trying to run away from always conflict and will always catch up to you eventually in the end. Another project that I'm working on is a TV show, which I can't get in too much about, but I will say that it has the inspiration aspects of the show Atlanta and Euphoria for their beautiful colors, their messaging, their Afro-surrealism. And for those of you that don't know what Afro-surrealism is, it's basically understanding the experience of what it means to be Black and live as a Black person in an environment or quote unquote a society that doesn't always accept them. So I'm pretty proud of that, and that will be coming out in quite some time from now. But my experience with that is really how I view life and how I grew up. It revolves around that, being a middle class kid, and it's something unique that's coming to the table. With my photography, I've been shooting a lot of portraits on Georgia State's campus, meeting and connecting with a lot of people who have been connecting me to other people, and it's been a wonderful time networking that way. Lately, I've been trying to diversify my color scheme and color palettes in my portraits, in my gallery that I've been collecting so far, and it's been turning out pretty good. So far, the shoots have been getting more and more creative, and I can't wait to present them to you guys. But if you want to check out some of them now, they are on the Inferno Files Instagram. These projects have taught me multiple lessons throughout each experience. During my photography sessions, I've learned a lot about the subjects that I'm taking pictures of, learning about their backstory and why they do what they want to do. For my stop motion animations, I'm looking at YouTube tutorials, behind the scenes of like the famous movies like Coraline, for example, how they brought something to life out of nothing, and just taking inspiration from that, seeing how they rig characters, how they get the motion to be so smooth. And I apply all of this. I write down notes, I pay attention. And that's like one of my key things, being a visual learner, seeing how other people operate in a room when I was working on Stairwell.
So after talking about your present projects, I feel like that sets us up on a really good note to talk about what can we expect from you in the future, and not just from when we'll see these future projects come out, but what are some things that you're looking forward to doing in the future? So what are some of your end goals with that?
One of my end goals for sure is definitely creating a feature film that is not only original, but tells a story that is able to inspire other people to want to create their own stories. I really want it to be a story that sticks with you, like how certain, I guess, iconic movies stick with other people. And I'm not asking for my film to be iconic. I'm not asking for it to be the best thing in the world, but just the overall message of what it means to be Black in America, what it means to just be a middle class kid who didn't think that this way of art form was even possible for him is possible. And having people see that is really what I want my end goal to be.
I think something that you just described or discussed, and it kind of just reminded me of Spider-Man, like the recent Spider-Man that just came out, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yep.
Yes, I think in kind of what you were phrasing and what you want to come of your end goal, I think that film immediately came to mind. And I wanted to just ask out of curiosity, did your influence on film and what you want to do right now, did that movie kind of inspire it a little bit, or did that kind of alter what you're choosing to do as an end goal for film, or kind of inspire that end goal of, I don't care if it's iconic, I don't really mind if it's not something that people all over the world can relate to, but it's just something that sticks with people in the way that it needs to stick with them?
A lot of it came from that film, actually. I'm kind of surprised I forgot to mention that film. The first movie definitely did, of knowing who you are as a person, was like the overall message of that movie. And I related to it a lot, not only because it was a Black Spider-Man, but because his ultimate goal of, can I live up to this expectation that has been putting pressure on him, was definitely something I felt that I could relate to in my own household at the time. And during the second one, of knowing your story and knowing what you want to tell, how you want it to go, having control over it, really resoluted with what I wanted to do with my own creative projects and stories I wanted to tell.
So my final question for you would be, in these stories that you want to tell and all of these paths that you want to make and that you're looking to create an impact on within the film industry, to be transparent, how can people help you? So how can people out there listening right now, what can they give you? How can they help you in your best interest?
I would say the way that you can help me personally is honestly being free to say, hey, let's share this message. Hey, just let's be open-minded to this idea that's not usual. Let's just be open-minded to something we're not used to. Let's not be afraid of change. Let's see something different. Let's explore. Let's try this out. Maybe this is weird, but who knows? We might end up liking it in the end if we stick it out. Just being open to wanting to see something different or unique, or something that you probably don't even like at all, and just giving something a chance.
And does that kind of lend a hand to giving visibility to more creative opportunities for you specifically, or just in general for the film industry?
That's just in general for the film industry, putting myself aside. I know that would be the best overall for everyone.
So in what ways can we directly support you and any upcoming projects or any places, any stakes that you want to make on the world?
I would say that what I would probably need is for all of us in the film industry to come together and just network as much as possible. There's always somebody who's at a level higher than you or who knows someone that you don't know that can connect to this person and that person. And that's really what it is in the film industry. It's not what you know or what you can do, but who you know and who can get you through the door. The more people you talk to, the more people you connect with, the more people you network with, that is how you can further yourself in getting the notice and the voice that you really want. Whether it's a short film competition, enter those short films into those film festivals, even if you don't think they're good. They will get the attention. They will be noticed by that one person who's going to say, this may have not been the best visually directed film, but I really like this story. I want to fund it. I want to help bring it to life. I want to help send it to Paramount, send it to A24, connecting with as many people and just putting your work out there, whether you think it's good or not, is what I'm doing. And I feel like all of you can do at the same time. And as a filmmaker, I feel like that's what we really need the most, is just to help push each other and expose each other's work.
And so essentially what you need is for not only you to just be visible in that aspect, but you want others to be visible, showing what they're doing, putting their names out there and supporting each other essentially as a community, if I'm hearing this correctly.
Yeah.
Does part of that in being a community also mean visibly, not just in their work, but visibly being there in person, also assist in supporting each other, one another? So for example, having more film professionals or creatives actually come out to things like universities or to local film shops or stuff like that, would that aid also in supporting that networking and community aspect that you were talking about earlier?
Yes, I do think that's just as important, and it helps a lot. It's the same way when you scout a football player or a basketball player, and that connection that you make with them helps it give you the exposure you need to become a D1 athlete. It's the same way with the film community. By who you expose yourself to or who helps you get exposed to these other companies, these executive producers who help fund your projects or visions or creative talents and help expose you to the rest of the world.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak on who you are, what you're about, and what you'd like to create in the future. Do you have any words of advice for any students who are also within film that you would like to talk about or that you'd just like to give?
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here, and I would actually like to give two pieces of advice. One that doesn't necessarily have to deal with the film industry itself, but just the overall life learning advice. And that advice is the only thing that you have control in is your own actions. You cannot control what other people do, what other people say. The only actions you have control over are your own. And the other piece of advice I would probably give in the film aspect is to just make sure you tell your story, no matter what it is. If you have a story, tell it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Intentional Intern Podcast. I'll see you guys next week with another student and how they're looking to make their success and their way in the world. Have a good one.